It all begins with the eyes opening, the long life ahead with its ups and downs. The body and soul bond, the body interaction with the physical world and the interactions within. Many books and volumes had talked about body functions as separate systems. But yet, we don't see the full picture. How does these tiny photons of light reflected of your beloved ones make your heart beats with joy? It's like a domino effect. One thing leads to another, and then we return to the starting point. In this series, we're going to try and see the bigger picture of the body's chain reaction.
The journey of the image starts with the light entering the eye, passing through the cornea, iris, then to the retina. After IDing the dimensions and colors of the image, the optic nerve transfers it as an electrical impulse to the brain to decipher it.
But, how are these impulses transferred? 2 words: action potential. It's like the wave people do in the stadium. This action potential acts like light switch, can turn on and off the cell very fast. The electrical message that carry the image's info passes from one neural cell to another, activating them one by one, then they return to inactive state again.
The impulse finally reaches the primary visual cortex, also known as visual area 1. It highlights what is important from visual inputs to guide the shifts of attention, such as when you play FPS games, your eye keeps tracking the crosshair of the weapon and seeing new enemies.
Also contrast and brightness of image, known as edge detection. The image is then sent to V2 cortex. It has many properties in common with V1, such as recognition of orientation, spatial frequency, color and visual illusions.
This is called Knizia figures, a type of visual illusion. Now, let's take a step back. How is the picture taken by the eye and the optic nerve is transferred to the brain? To know this, we have to go a little bit deeper on the cellular level.
Look at this picture. What you see is just 3 fragments of a triangle. But when we add these 3 black circles, things change a lot. Now you can clearly see a white triangle that hides a part of each circle. A process called action potential occurs. It is found in some types of cells, such as the nerves, muscles, and the endocrine cells. These are called excitable cells, which means they could work and stop working, in contrast to other cells that do their work all the time.
As we said, the action potential acts like a light switch that can turn on and off the cell very fast. In our case here, the electrical message that carries the image's info passes from one neuron to another, activating them one by one. Then they return to an active state again, and the impulse finally reaches the primary visual cortex. So, let's see what the action potential really do and how.
The cell. It is like a city, with a wall surrounding it. It has its own power plant, city hall, and people living there. But in this case, those people are the proteins, enzymes, and other ions floating around.
What we are interested in is the wall of this city, or the cell membrane. In fact, it's a double wall, and it has many gates. Each type of gate is for a specific type of molecules.
Ions, which have either positive or negative charge, plays a crucial role in cell signaling, or the communication between one cell and another, or even the function of the cell itself, in case of muscle cells. These gates exchange positive ions with negative ones, resulting in a change of the charge across the membrane.
In turn, activating many molecules inside the cell, such as enzymes and DNA, the main controller of cell's function. You can imagine what this is all about. It's about electrons moving from one molecule to another, making it react with other molecules, activating or deactivating them.
Then they go somewhere else, due to attraction between positive and negative charges, activating another molecule and so on, until it reaches a molecule that returns to the first one and give it back what it released.
That results in deactivation of the first molecule, and that's what's known as the negative feedback mechanism.
It all works the same way, an endless loop that goes on and on. But you must continuously add external ingredients found in food, water and oxygen, and even stimuli like light and touch and smells.
So, the medium within the cell is filled with different molecules that react with each other.
With an external stimulus that acts upon the cell, we add or remove some essential ions for these reactions, changing the pH of the medium. Consequently, some reactions stop, while others start, until the serial reaction reaches the cell membrane to reverse the ions on both sides, returning some to the outside and others to the inside of it.
Ultimately, we can relate these reactions to mere attraction between positive and negative charged atoms, which is a very basic universal reaction.
But how can a sight triggers our emotions? How does this interaction between physical world, the brain and mind work? As we said earlier, photons of light enters the eye in different patterns, according to the characteristics of the body it was reflected from. These patterns are sent to the visual cortex that reconstitute the picture in the brain. In the form of electrical impulses, this picture affects different parts of the brain. By that, we mean activating cells to do their function, which is in some cases secreting hormones and other neurotransmitters, affecting other parts in the body in a serial reaction. This graph shows the dramatic difference in visual activation during Professor Lang's study in 1998, observing the visual cortex activity in relation to emotional processing, causing changes in body's equilibrium, such as accelerating heart rate and rise of blood pressure, among other things.
But feelings are connected to the soul, which is yet unknown how it works. It's like the software of the body.
You know how the hardware works and what it does, but it's not necessary to know how the software part operates. You may keep pressing the power button, but the PC won't start up.